Elizabeth, thank you for hearing me out today, and thank you for taking the time to sit with me. More than anything, that conversation that we just had really helped me go over the kind of service that I want to provide, and that was actually my main goal with the conversation. As far as helping and providing value, that was one part of it, but the other part was just seeing and understanding where I could provide value. That's why I started out by asking questions, and by the very end of it, I had realized that you know the only way that I can provide value is to keep learning things to put on to like pass on to other people. And you really helped me to see that. So I'm really grateful for that. And I hope that at this point I could consider you a friend. I don't want to end up charging anything for this. And I don't even want to think about it, to be honest with you. It's just ridiculous. But I'll go ahead and explain these things that we went over earlier. The very first thing that I'm going to talk about is going to be the difference between cost, price, and value. A lot of people don't differentiate these things, they don't understand what they are. But instead of starting out with costs, just so you actually are able to see it in a better way, I'm going to start with your price. Now, the price equation is typically known as cost plus profit equals price. Your cost in this case, and I'm going to write that in green. I should have actually put cost in red and price in green, because price is money in, cost is money out. Your cost is what you pay the owner, what the owner pays in order to provide a service. Basically, your capital, I think it's capital with an O, investment. And I'm going to just shorten that way it doesn't have to sit too long. I'm going to try to use most of the top of the board just because it's really tough to keep leaning down to get the bottom half of it, and it makes it for a very awkward thing. But yeah, this is the equation that you're looking at. Your cost plus your profit equals your price, right? I don't know why I did it like that. That's better. So cost plus profit equals price. Now, cost is what you as the owner pays in order to be able to provide a service. In this case, the service would be detailing, providing a great service detailing. And whenever you first start out, the cost is somewhat minimal, but you still have to take into account all your investments that you made, which in this case is going to amount to the shop vac that you're going to be purchasing. It's going to amount to your power washer. It's going to amount to the chemicals. And like I said, big equipment gets appreciated over a long period of time. For a vacuum, I personally like to do it over 6 months just because they're more prone to breaking down. And I say that from personal experience. I've had to replace vacuums the most out of any other thing. But they also require the most service since they're typically the product that gets used the most. Power washers, whenever they're gas power washers, they don't require too much maintenance on a regular basis, but you still have to do maintenance on them. And they're a little bit more rugged, so they also can take a little bit more time past the maintenance condition before they give out on you, but maintaining them is still going to help you in the long run. And I know I said I was going to send you a YouTube video. I'm still going to be sending you that after I get done recording this one, just because it kind of blew my mind whenever I walked in here. But okay, I'm going to go ahead and erase this. I hope you're taking notes. Just write this stuff down because it's really, really helpful information. I actually got this from a lecture from a Princeton professor, I believe. And a lot of people don't know that you can find these lectures on YouTube. And I took the time to study it. I think I've invested well over 10,000 hours into studying the information or finances and how to grow a business and how to price things properly. Once we really get into the nitty gritty of it, you're going to understand why you really can't make a lot of money on the prices that you were charging. So let's say, for example, you said it yourself. one of the first costs that you assume was $500 for your power washer. Now I'm just gonna use the basic materials that we need, like brushes from AutoZone, because that's what I used. You said a $40 vacuum, so I'm actually gonna go based off of the prices that you had. Shop vac. I don't know what you spent on brushes, but I'm gonna say, you know, $10 for what I used to pay for detail brushes at AutoZone. In this case, I am going to go a little bit lower because I know the camera can get my entire body, but I just want to make sure that, you know, I'm not wasting time in the video, which is why I want to ride it a little bit higher. Now, the chemicals that actually get used for detailing. In my personal case, I don't know what all you're going to be doing, but I bought the 5-gallon products that you can dilute down to whatever you need to use them. So the first, I'm gonna write them all out, and then I'm gonna just write the price under them. This is a water-based, or non-acid really, is kind of what you're looking for. Wheel and tire cleaner. You want an interior, a dedicated interior cleaner. You want to have, and this is what, again, like what I used, a bug remover. And the brand that I was using was known as Stinger Chemicals. Their non-acid wheel cleaner was about, I want to say $14. Same thing for the interior cleaner. It was 13, 14 bucks. I'm gonna write 13 because I think that's what it was. And the bug remover was also about $13. Now, the other two products that are very important, just for the very, very minimal service, is going to be, let's see, non-acid wheel, interior cleaner, bug remover, your tire dressing, which I use a universal dressing, so it's tire plus interior diluted dressing. And this was one of the more expensive ones that I used. Right, so this one came out to about $40 for the 5-gallon jug, which I know you said previously you haven't gone to looking at the ounces of how many ounces you use for each of these chemicals. I usually use about 16-ounce bottles, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm gonna have to double check. It was either 16 or 32 ounces, but I did about a quarter of them, so it was about 4 ounces per bottle of the interior cleaner and the bug remover. This I usually did 50-50, so let's just say about 8 ounces. And then you would just divide that into your gallons, because those are usually the measurements that you want to use depending on the chemicals that you have. If you have something stronger, like I know certain brands, like I think it was P&S, they have certain chemicals now that you do not have to use nearly as much. You use like 1 ounce for the entire bottle, and that gives you enough to cover it. But what we're looking at here is the cost of doing the business. This is what you have to pay to be able to provide a service. And this is not considering your regular expenses once you get more into them, which, like I said, was going to be the maintenance on the power washing equipment, the maintenance on the shop vac, which depending on what shop vac you get, you're still gonna have to pay about 10 bucks per filter minimum. And then on the power washer, you have to do oil changes. And sometimes spark plugs. You know, as recommended by the maintenance. Oh my God, I'm so sorry about my chicken scratch. Here you go. So these two would also be about another 20 to 30 bucks. Right, and these are gonna be on the repeat. I can show you how to basically, what I told you earlier, depreciate these, but I don't think you're going to want to once you actually look at it. So it was tire, interior dressing, tire cleaner, interior cleaner, bug remover. There's another one that I'm missing on here. I think I put an APC just in case on the original video. and this was also around 14 bucks. So just in chemicals, right? If you're assuming, or if I assume that you're doing the same service that I was providing, you, and this was gonna get you, regardless of how many vehicles you're doing, you need to have this to be able to do one car, right? You cannot do this service unless you have all of this equipment. So that's looking at $500, $540, $550, $590, $604. What is this? 627? No, 617. Then 630, $644. The way that I like to do it is I want to make sure that I can clear this margin minimum every month, or at least every week is kind of what I really wanted to go for. My best month in detailing before I decided to sell my equipment actually came down to 28 jobs. I'm actually going to erase this because I just wanted to show you what the cost would be for your specific scenario. And I would also account for a minimum amount of gas, on a regular basis. I was traveling about 15 to 20 miles every time that I was doing a job. I don't know what kind of area you live at, but that's kind of how far in between my jobs usually were. So at 15 to 20 miles with my truck getting 14 miles to the gallon, it was actually getting more like 8. I was spending about $4 on gas. So let's say, let's just do 10 miles per job. Now let's say your car gets an economy of 20 miles to the gallon, right? So if you're doing, let's say 3 or 4 jobs, which, like I said, this is going to be way different than my margins because my margins were super, super low whenever I first started out. So you get 20 miles to the gallon, right? And you're doing 4 jobs a day. So that's 40 miles per day. That's 2 gallons of gas, which at $2.74 comes out to about $5 per day on gas. I'm going to go ahead and stop the clip right here, and then I'm going to send this information over to you so you can look it over whenever you get the chance. But this is the very foundation of everything that I've been learning, everything that I'm doing. Is the price, the cost, and the last part that I'm going to cover later is value. But that's after we've already looked at this and analyzed it and broken it down for you, right? So this is your cost. You want to break down your costs over the amount of jobs that you can actually do in a day. So